I am a scientist. In The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, only one human survives the apocalypse. Rescued by a spaceship, he learns that Earth and its civilizations were destroyed. It was in the way of progress, as the Vogons were building an interstellar highway. And so we perished. Not to war, nor plague, nor atomic incident. Our genocide was caused by ignorance, selfishness, and greed. Nothing personal, just business as usual. I grew up reading The Hitchhiker's Guide and other science fiction novels. These books told heroic stories of scientists, engineers, and average people who were willing to be open-minded and bold. There was optimism for the future. Even as I learned that some of this stuff was more fantasy than reality, I wanted to take part in that tradition and use science to make the world a better place. Woo! As a chemist, I work on making catalysts, molecular machines that can turn carbon dioxide into something more useful and less harmful. Woo! After all, humans keep producing more and more of it, so the obvious solution is to pluck it from the air and get rid of it. We just need to make something capable of doing so efficiently. And it needs to run using a source of power that doesn't generate more CO2 than it takes out. And it needs to be reproducible and operational at large scales in any environment in the world. And it can't rely on materials of which we have a finite amount. And even if we do all that, it's going to be 10 to 15 years before we can implement it fully. I and other scientists have grappled with these issues for decades, and we really have made tremendous progress. And if we had enough time, maybe, just maybe, we could solve this within the current framework of our society. But one obstacle continues to thwart the scientific method: economics. In June of 2018, at the American Chemical Society's annual Green Chemistry Conference, I heard one sentiment more than any other. No technology, no matter how sustainable, would be adopted commercially unless it was also economically viable to do so. In other words, even if it could save the planet, if it was more expensive than the alternative, it was up to the scientists to make it cheaper rather than the businesses to put a higher value on our long-term survival. Harming the planet today is more profitable than saving it tomorrow. Woo! And as the conference resolved, the scientists returned to their work of making the right thing to do the affordable thing to do. 4 months later, the IPCC released its report. It concluded that business as usual is suicide. That waiting for scientists to fix it without addressing what we as a society could do was not a strategy for survival. That doing the right thing was not going to be profitable, but that it had to be done anyway. In the months since it has come out, despite what powerful interests might have you believe, the greatest scientific criticism of the report is that it actually understated how dire the situation is. Remember that scientists are not known for exaggerating. I look away from the report that it was not enough for me just to work on long-term solutions. We need radical solutions, and we need them now. We do not have time for our survival to be profitable. Those with power, those Vogons from The Hitchhiker's Guide, value business as usual above the fate of our planet. They will continue to tell you that the warnings are overstated, and that the market will correct itself, and that moderate actions or technological advances will be sufficient. And I will remind you that these are the same people who told you not to listen to the scientists 30 years ago. The difference now is even the scientists are out here telling you that new technology is not enough. Yesterday's fight was to make us understand and accept the harsh reality. Today's fight is to act on it. Yeah. And if in 200 years aliens bother to come down and see if we're worth preserving, what will they find? Will they find people who have learned to coexist with nature rather than at its expense? Who can meet the needs of everyone without incurring an environmental debt? To quote another sci-fi novel, Tunnel in the Sky, it is up to us whether they find a civilized society or flea-bitten animals without language, without arts, with the light of reason grown dim, or no survivors at all, nothing but bones picked clean. Remember that scientists are not known for exaggerating. The stakes really are that high. Woo! But I still have hope that we humans will travel the stars, not out of necessity, but for adventure. I see the young leaders of this movement as incarnations of that heroic spirit, that breathes life into science and science fiction alike. Though the cost may be great, together we can buy the time we need. The human race can and must look to the future once more with optimism. So get loud, get active, and don't panic.